What is going on, All Terrain Nation? And I must say, what is going on, Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk? Tim, we are dual streaming here, buddy.
I know. So hang with us here, folks. This is new technology for us rednecks. We're working this stuff out. This is crazy cool software, though. We're able to dual screen. My phone just alerted me that you are live and I am live at the same time. And then we're also live on Facebook. And so
I'm live, Twitter. You
yeah,
name it, we're live.
So I'm trying to figure out where I'm live on my channel because I'm curious now where the views are going to be, not views but comments.
Right. Well, so I can see in the software over here, I can see it shows a little link when you get a comment from your channel versus mine.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. Well, this is Midsize Trucks live, and Tim's been doing this with me off and on for a little bit, and we like to talk on Saturday mornings, Midsize Trucks, obviously. And what a better month to do that than the month of May, Tim, because this month has been a little nutty for Midsize Trucks.
Right. No, the real story is Dave likes to get me up early in the morning and talking my head off about trucks. That's what's going on Saturday morning.
Pretty much.
Missed all my Bugs Bunny cartoon time. It's sad. It's really sad.
But if you're on Tim's channel, if you look at under my name there, it says sub All Terrain Nation. So give me a shot over there if you would. I would greatly appreciate that. But yeah, Tim, so I've got a taste of May truck month, but you really got a taste of it. You've been all over the globe, it seems, with midsize trucks.
Yeah, and let's see, I've done the Chevy Colorado drive, the GMC Canyon drive. I actually get a GMC Canyon on Tuesday for a 7-week press loan. I did the Ford Ranger static walk around like we did, and we did Tacoma static walk around. So the only 2 trucks I haven't driven yet is the Ranger and Tacoma, but I've seen or sat in all 4 of the major refreshes. And I was thinking about this the other day. I was talking to my wife about it. I said I think I'm one of I'm going to say 10 people. 10 journalists have done that because a lot of these big outlets send different people to different places, so they one person has done it all. I think it's like me and like Andre at TFL, and I think the Elmers,
probably
Joe Ratty, the Elmers at Truck King. I think that's probably it, which is just interesting to have that experience and getting that experience is great. But the other problem is people are like, is there rear AC vents in this particular truck? And I'm like, man, I had 20 minutes. it's like walking into a new store going, oh, look at all the bells and whistles. Whoa, this is cool. What a great store. And then you're like, did that store have a bathroom? And you're like, bells and whistles.
Right.
I don't know. You just have such a quick taste of these things. And then
a lot of people don't realize is we're fans of vehicles too. So it is a little over your experiences. You get to see the new cool vehicle in front of you. You're a little overwhelmed by that. And then you've got to find flaws or find the pluses.
You got to do a video. Yeah. So, and that, I was so excited for that Tacoma that I literally, I had pages and pages of notes. I had been studying in my room. And so when I saw it, it was like seeing something that you read. And I read the press release 4 times and I, I read it so many times. I actually did a word count because it's 4,676 words.
Wow.
It's 10 pages long. And so, and they didn't have everything in the press release. They still have more details to share.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I have my own issues with that press release, but we won't get to talk about that.
So yeah, talk about exciting stuff. And I said in a live stream I did on Tuesday on my channel that consumers are really gonna have a hard time this fall. Because they're all good. They're all good. People are threatening right now, talking about okay, the Colorado's got a 4-cylinder and the Ranger's got a 6-cylinder, and so the 6-cylinder is gonna be better than the 4-cylinder. No, look at the numbers, the torque curve, the horsepower. No, so you can see people are trying to make battle lines. They're trying to figure out, like you have in your title, they're trying to figure out a competitive advantage. They're trying to make things up. Like this truck's got this, and it's hard because they're all really competitive. They all have a off-road version. They all have a luxury kind of version. They also have a base version. Basically, I'm seeing a lot of people talk about mid-size trucks as far as the Tacoma having a 6-foot bed and double cab versus a 5-foot bed, and that's maybe a selling feature for them. I know they like doing longer bed with the Tacoma because they haven't notoriously done that. But I try to tell people that the Tacoma is the same size as it's been in length on purpose to fit in the garage.
Yeah.
So if you don't need that, it's a 6-foot bed because it probably won't fit in your garage because most of the garages are built 1950s and 60s size.
Well, did they explain? Because I don't recall this. Is it any wider?
It is wider. It's 2 inches wider. It's 2 inches or it's 2 inches wider on the TRD Pro, which is really a base byproduct of the shoulders on
Fenders.
the fenders and the tires. But
So they've kept pretty much relatively the same dimensions as the current
the
truck.
cab is the exact same dimension. So I was doing that fireside chat with them, and I should have recorded more of that because it's really good conversation with the designers and stuff. But anyways, the lead designer, exterior designer, who was working with Quality at the time, who was working this partnership, and the chief engineer were discussing it, and they made it on purpose. That cab had to be same. The overall truck was the same length, so the cab is the same size, and the length is the issue. They want to make sure it still fits in the garage because that is a huge part of the buying reasons for midsize trucks.
Right. Well, but Toyota's smart. They don't out of both of the main truck Japanese companies, like they don't mess with what sells. They like will slowly trickle in new things. Like those seats in that TRD Pro are ridiculous. How Toyota Japan let Toyota America get away with that one, I have no idea. It's awesome.
I just saw a video when he developed it, and I was just talking to some of the people on the side, and they're just like, man, these seats they're the most amazing thing I think Toyota's put out in the past like 5 years. Like it's people want to know more and more about it. So it is it's interesting. I think with the Tacoma, it was a one time in the past, I'm gonna say 5-10 years of covering Toyota or whatever in my career. Probably the first time in my career that Toyota is really Tacoma really game changing.
Yeah.
Like they didn't say in a press release, but when you look at the details and look at the stuff in Tacoma, I mean, 10 pages long press release because they did so much. If I were to pick on the Tundra a little bit, the Tundra press release was like 4 pages long, and I read it a couple of times, and nothing wowed me. But I'm like literally in my room reading through the press release and at the hotel on the Tacoma, and I'm just like every other page is like wow. I emailed the PR person, and I sent him like 17 wows in email just because I was like, because every time you flip the page, you're like, oh my gosh, it's got this. Oh my gosh, it's got this. Oh my gosh, it's got this. And then that's the hard part was I was watching some of the Instagram people. I'm gonna call them, I don't know, influencers, way to say it, whatever. And they're really good. I mean, the people that Toyota invited are really good Instagrammers. And I was watching their videos, and they have a minute. They had a minute to talk about like the new TRD Pro Tacoma. I'm like, that is a freaking mission impossible. like, here's your top 4 things, but behind the surface, there's 45 more things on this vehicle that you need to get. So yeah, it was quite the month. And I it's one of those things. I walked away from the Colorado drive going, man, this is a really good truck. I walked away from the Canyon drive going, yeah, I'd buy the Canyon AT4. I mean, that'd be the one I'd buy. And then I walked away from the Ranger drive, and I was like, man, Ranger Raptor, like that's pretty damn cool, And I thought the Lariat version of the Ranger. Remember that hot pepper red that was there? I thought that was pretty sweet. It looked pretty nice, and I
didn't like all the chrome on that. That's definitely a grandpa's truck there.
Yeah, well, that's true. But I was
like, color was great though. Color and the seats. I love the white seats in that.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it would look pretty damn good. And then I went to Tacoma launch, and I was like, well, some bitch. I like this one, so it's like I mean, the fans know I have to buy a new truck this year, and so I'm going to buy a new truck, and I don't know, I'm really leaning towards the Tacoma, just because the views are right there. People are talking about it. People want to see more about it, and it's and to me, the Tacoma did the most as far as change. And one of my rules when I buy trucks is I want the latest, greatest, newest. So I want the latest version. So it's got to be the version there. I want the newest version, which means all the new stuff. Like I want something that's got everything new in it, new technology, everything. And the greatest one, which is to me, which of the midsize trucks is doing the greatest as far as views and interest. And I think that's what I'm leaning towards. I don't know. I'm waiting I get the Canyon this next week for a press loan, and I can't wait to drive it every day because it's pretty damn good too. Like it's right. So tough, and the pricing is, I want to talk about pricing right now because that's a very interesting topic. People talk about pricing like, oh my gosh, it's getting so expensive, whatever. But what I think about is that the new midsize truck is bigger in cabin room and wider and longer than my 1962 full size truck.
Right.
So to me, the midsize truck right now for a lot of customers is a full size truck. The towing capacities, 6,000-7,000 pounds. That's what a lot of people tow on average.
I remember my dad's Silverado from the 70s. That was 6,000 pounds is about what it was going to tow.
Yeah. I mean, to me, this is so it's almost like we have, I don't know what happens between like full size and 3/4 ton. Maybe we have a midsize is now your 1/3, and your other one's 2/3. Now you have the 3/4. I don't know, but it's just
We
interesting.
need to go to the metric systems. What we need to do with trucks, I think that would solve like understanding like where they all rank now.
Yeah. No, I mean, but yeah, I mean, so you look at like Tacoma, and we don't have pricing yet, but if I can go buy a Tacoma for like 45,000 or so,
Well, so where do you think they're going to bottom out at? Obviously, they're doing the base version, steely wheels and stuff. The what was it, SR?
yeah.
Toyota has shown that, and I'll bring that up here.
What
But
was
where
it?
do you think that might stand in the lineup, price wise?
Low 30s. Isn't that what Ranger starts at? Doesn't the Ranger start at 30?
Yeah, it's like 33, 34,
34,
which
yeah.
I know that pissed a lot of people off because they were used to under 20s. I remember you could get an S10 for $8,000. So I've been around a long time with this stuff. But yeah, like the old S10s you could get for $8,000. Trust me, it was a manual transmission, no radio. You probably didn't get a rear bumper on thing. It was just a basic of a truck. And even base vehicles now are not what we would consider a base vehicle because you're still getting all these big infotainment screens and
no. Well, the other thing too is like there's no regular cab, short bed. So there's no base roll up window regular cab short bed. So that you're not going to get $20,000, right? But look at the Maverick. The Maverick stripped down to everything is 20,000, and that's a smaller size, smaller everything. It's just that they don't want to compete in that same space. Why would you offer a Maverick for 20? And it goes up to like 28, 29, and then you offer this Ranger at 25. Like that doesn't work. That marketers, I tell you what, these marketers, they're pretty damn smart. When they price stuff out, they really price different. So look at that, and you're saying, okay, well, I can go Maverick for 20, probably 25 these days. By the time you do the adjustments, I think they probably raise pricing. So you have a good $7,000-8,000 difference between that and a Ranger. Base Ranger, and so now you have some differences. Now you can have some differences going on.
Yeah, I brought up one thing I've noticed Toyota's marketing is they know they were not going to compete with like Ranger Raptor. Like nobody's going to compete with that truck because Ford has this weird Raptor thing that nobody kind of wants to. Chevy sort of with a Bison is kind of wants to sort of play in that, but I like the fact here that on Toyota's sales stuff here, their website, they're kind of telling you we're going after that segment without having to tell you, yeah, we're not going to have 400 horsepower. But if you should, I love the fact that they're showing them racing through the desert with the TRD Pro, like the exact same photo that if you guys could see what's behind me and Tim there on the screen, like I have a Ranger, a Raptor doing this exact same thing. And I love Toyota's marketing was like they're definitely going after Ford a little bit, right?
I mean, that's Ivan Stewart.
Yeah.
That's the heritage from Toyota. What's interesting is like I think when people look at Ranger Raptor, like, man, this thing's so bad, it's one off, whatever. But when you go to like Overland Expo West, right? I was just there. My God, you think it's sponsored by Toyota, and Toyota hasn't played. They haven't sponsored Overland at all.
Yeah.
Sheldon was telling me he first went there in like 2017 and saw all this Toyota stuff. Or we're at booth. He was like Toyota. He's like, we don't do crap in this segment. We don't do any advertising at all. And here's all of our vehicles all over the place. So. Like, and if you go out into the Borrego Springs, you see a lot of old gen Tacomas and 4Runners. Like Toyota owns this segment, but nobody gives them any credence for owning the segment until you go out there and you look at the segment, and it's like, holy cow, Toyotas are everywhere.
Yeah.
FJ Cruiser Summit was a big Toyota love fest. I mean,
and Toyota barely paid attention to it.
They don't they ignore it. They don't even have to do anything to it, and all of a sudden it goes kaboom. They own the segment. So I think it's interesting because Ford wants to play in that realm, Chevy wants to play in that realm too. But what people don't realize is when the first Colorado ZR2 came out, was it 17, maybe 19, somewhere in that realm? They had to take their team out and actually show them how to off road, because when they closed down Hummer, they lost all their off road talent.
Yeah,
I mean that's literally what happened. All the engineers left when Hummer closed down. So I don't know. It's going to be it's
Ford and Chevrolet are going to have to throw money at it. That's the problem is since Toyota. So with Toyota, it's part of their thing where they can take chances on like an extended cab or the long cab, the what we'll call what they call it an extra cab that with no doors on it, is because when you're selling over 200,000 a year, like you can take a little bit of chances where if Ford and Chevrolet are selling $70,000 to $100,000, their margin of error for that trim level is so much smaller than what Toyota's is. So I commend Toyota for coming out of the gate, with a long bed, because my audiences, they have been bitching at Ford about, hey, where's the long bed? Where's just the extra cab or the king cab? Where's this, that, and people are getting kind of pissed off that these manufacturers are only offering these 4-door trucks now, and it don't necessarily fit everybody style. So I really do commend Toyota at throwing some money at that, going, okay, we'll play in that playground, and if it doesn't work out, you won't see it in 2 years. They'll just quietly go away.
People are still bitching about extra cab, the Tacoma extra cab not having suicide doors, and I understand it. I mean, it'd be nice to have doors to get on there, and I'm currently questioning them what their testing is. I think it's internal testing that they want to meet, but the reality of things is you're lucky you even have an extra cab.
Mm-hmm.
That's the flip side of the thing. I mean, Sheldon had to fight for like 2 years to get an extra cab because nobody wanted it. I mean, it's just additional manufacturing, additional sheet metal, it's additional costs. So I know why manufacturers are going crew cab short bed, or standard bed, I should say, not short bed, but they're going with that because it's the volume. Like if you look at the numbers, like Toto was saying, they sold like 200,000 Tacomas last year, whatever, and they had like, it was like over only 30% of those were like access cabs across the industry, and the 70% was all crew cabs. And so they're just like, you know what, I'm gonna go full in on the crew cab short bed. And it's interesting because Nissan's still playing long bed king cab game. They only sell 5 trucks a year. Actually, Nissan sells quite a bit.
Well, Frontier does well, but I think the king cab is only for the Canadian market. I don't think you can buy those in the United States.
Yeah, Canadian market's a really interesting version of the Frontier. I was talking to Stephen Elmer about it, and I can't remember the exact one, but it's a certain trim in the king cab too. But yeah, and again, I just think that manufacturers seeing profit now in full size trucks, putting other big money in that. Midsize doesn't have the same amount of profit, so they don't want to spend as much cost to do R&D and do production. I mean, my God, the AT4X I have outside is $91,000, and it's a half-ton truck.
Yeah. So Todd's asking, silly question, do you think the midsize will have the same delivery issues of the full-size availability? I think all these manufacturers have learned their lesson over the past 3 years, and that's why you won't see any of these trucks for 6 months. I think that they're like, okay, we're going to build up inventory of parts. Unfortunate because they're not used to doing that, because they like to keep it I forget what they call parts on demands, like how they like to manufacture. And I think right now they're going to have some warehousing so they can keep these lines going and constantly feed, and they'll eventually go back to on-demand parts. But I really do think that they've learned some lessons. I mean, Toyota didn't do as bad, I think, through all the pandemic as most brands did. They seem to keep their lines moving pretty good. But no, with the American brands, no, I don't know. Tim would have a better idea with Ford and Chevrolet than I would.
Yeah, I mean, Ford's notorious for not having good production for whatever reason. They build awesome vehicles, you just can't get them. I mean, it's basically what it turns out to be.
Right.
But I think they've also delayed a lot of stuff. So like I was just talking before we went live, the Super Duties got refreshed in October of last year. They're just starting now to hit dealer lots. And so I think, that's a long time. That's a long period of time till it actually comes to production. I think Ford's going to do more and more of that. I think they're going to slowly launch stuff because they want to have better quality with production. Toyota did it well, did their thing, and they do it well, and they frustrate people at the same time, like me. But they always do gas first, then hybrid second. And part of the reason is gas is easier to build. You don't need the extra cables, you don't need extra batteries, you don't need extra protection. And so they're going to do all gas first, then hybrids, that we get trucks in the marketplace.
Well, and think about the hybrid's going to be their more high-end vehicles anyway. So let's let the common vehicles, let's get all the production issues out of the way, because trust me, I worked in manufacturing. They do trials on these. They look for fitment issues. But once those lines get moving, things pop up. So let's let the less expensive vehicles kind of get that worked out, and then bring out your high-end vehicles.
Yeah, and I think that's going to happen. I think Chevy, it's interesting because GM's taking a lot of crap right now online from customers who are getting frustrated they can't get their trucks. There's, a lot of people are really nervous. There was a hailstorm went through near the plant. They're worried about their trucks sitting outside getting hailed on and all this backup production. There's been some he said, she said dealer conversations with GM, and I don't know. I always think of it this way. GM doesn't want to hold back your truck. They want you to have the truck. They want to get out of their hands. Like when I was at Fort Wayne Assembly, the employees were getting pissed because they want to get rid of these trucks because now they got to park them behind the trash can over here, behind this lot, over that lot. I mean, they're having they spend more time moving trucks around, and they just want to get rid of them. Like the plants don't want them.
They're not built. The plants are not built for holding vehicles.
They're not. No. That's one of the big problems. But the thing is, they don't have all the parts. Like when I was walking through Fort Wayne, they're like, yeah. They're like they had a hood open there. They like, see this cushion underneath the hood? That's our sound deadener. Yeah, we just ran out of that. Like, so people are like, they're online. They're like, my truck's in a quality hold, or it says it's in transport. It's been in transport like 2 months. It's not done yet. That's the answer.
Right.
The answer is that truck looks like it's done on paper, but it's not done yet. And so I think we're going to see more of that as manufacturers struggle, because as you know, from the plant standpoint, you can't stop production of the plant. You can't just take days off. And so you got
when I worked for Nissan, I stopped it for 9 minutes, and I thought they were going to fire me because I put a wrong mirror on a Nissan Frontier.
Yeah.
I put a non-powered mirror on a and you know what the line does? They just put their hands up, and they made me. I worked about a mile away. They carted me. I had to hand deliver these parts. They embarrassed me like crazy. And guess what? I learned a lesson real quick, because I think it was $3 to $6 a minute downtime is what they were suffering.
Yeah. I mean, the plants want to, if they want to retrofit vehicles, they bring another team in.
Yeah.
Because they got to keep the plant going. The plant's got to keep producing vehicles. That's how they do business. It costs millions of dollars. So
Tim, you think this SR, you think mid-30s is where that's going to start?
I think so. And Todd wanted to know about, are the midsize going to be available in the fleet market? Yeah, to a certain degree. The fleet business for midsize, I think commercial operations are getting screwed personally. I mean, the midsize vans are going away. Midsize trucks are basically not crew cab, short bed. But I think what I've seen a lot of commercial operators do is they're actually going and buying Mavericks.
I've seen a ton of Mavericks on which is weird because you can't get Mavericks anyways. And I'm like, how are these guys getting these Mavericks? I mean, I'm sure they got big fleet orders, but
I mean, look at I drive by Napa all the time. Napa's switching all their Tacomas out to Mavericks. I mean, a front wheel drive Maverick, 40 miles per gallon, $20,000. I mean, that's a fleet vehicle all day long.
Oh, yeah. And they're never using it to its potential. Even as the Maverick, they're not going to use it as its potential.
No, but they just need a bed for parts. They need to throw a drive shaft in there, or whatever. They need room for parts. So yeah, I think you'll see the midsize. So look at the title of that page that pulled up. A Tacoma for any adventure. You go to Ford Ranger, and it's all about off-roading with the Ranger Raptor. You go to Chevy, and it's all about off-road with the Colorado. Remember the Colorado media kit was all 3 trucks off-roading at the same time. GMC Canyon, I mean, the media kit was all off-roading. Like the midsize truck market is a crew cab, short bed, lifted with tires, off-road machine. That's how they see that customer, and that's how that customer is buying it, because those kind of needs. I know there's, like, my brother bought a GMC Canyon Denali because he didn't need all the off-roading gear. But even that Canyon Denali is not a stock, low to the ground kind of truck. It's even built up too, because every GMC Canyon's got what they call the factory 2-inch lift. But look at that. I mean, everywhere you look, it's a lifestyle photo with the truck. I mean, that's how they view the midsize truck market. And so looking at this, you're going to say commercial is going to be a Maverick all day long, or it's going to be the F-50 or the Chevy Silverado 1500 work truck versions. But as far as this market, I mean, the Colorado has a work truck version of his truck. But I mean, if Chevy came out with a Maverick competitor, that Colorado work truck would probably go away. They just want to have something in that realm. Yeah, I mean, look, every photo you see, every image you see, it's a lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. Which is crazy. How the off-road segments really moved vehicles, and there's overlanding, you can, whatever you want to call it. I've been in the off-road world for a long time, and I remember in the late 2000s, the term overlanding all of a sudden was something. And I remember even for Toyota, the guys with Expedition Overland, that was a big YouTube channel for a long time of like, oh my God, look, these people are taking like new vehicles and like building them and going and having a lot of fun with it. And that's really benefited. There's been a couple things for Toyota. Ivan Stewart with that little truck made that truck what it is today. And then with overlanding, like, that was the next boost for Toyota in sales. And I really do. And I think that's what you're saying here. Why Chevrolet, why Ford, and all these are wanting to get into that playground, because there's such money in that. And now the fact that Toyota's like, okay, you're going to take that money from us. You're going to try to pull away a little bit with that. We're going to do the Trail Hunter. So we're just going to go, ARB.
Yeah.
Let's not just ARB sell us some parts. In their press releases, we partnered with ARB.
Oh, yeah, they brought in ARB. They had an ARB engineer on staff at Toyota for like 2 months. Not on staff, but I
Yeah.
mean, they're with the staff every day. It's
Yeah.
interesting you bring up X Overland. Sheldon actually was watching X Overland channel. That's how I came up with the idea of doing a trail hunter and doing
Really?
Overland. So he went to
Well, I
Overland
know.
Expo West. He went to X Overland, the Clay and Rochelle Croft.
Yeah.
Nice people. He watched
Oh,
their
very nice.
channel, and he was watching their channel, going to Overland Expo West. That's how the trail hunter came out. Was
Yeah, because Clay had a hand in that. They asked him to come in and consult on that vehicle.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they used it well. I mean that's what they built that vehicle for. Now, I don't necessarily know how big a place of the market is overlanding. I mean, I know it's huge. I hear it all the time. It's massive. I hear brands doing stuff to it, but I don't know. It's I'll see how they can sell.
Yeah, Tim, I will say I see a ton of vehicles now with I'm in Middle Tennessee where it's hard to go adventure.
Right.
Trust me, there's a house in every corner. Like there's not a lot of open land to go explore. And there's rooftop tents everywhere on these trucks now, man. There's the fuel packs on the side of them. Like people want to, people want to live a lifestyle that or feel like they're living a lifestyle that maybe they can or can't, but their vehicle represents who they think they are. And I see a lot of it, man.
I think and I was thinking about this too. The way the world is going, I actually was thinking about getting with Trail Hunter and going. I'd love to go to Montana and go fishing for a couple days. I'm a big fan of fly fishing up there, and I was thinking about it. I was like, with Starlink, if you can get that working, you can actually work remotely, and these more jobs are online. So it's like, huh? So it's like one of those things. It's like, could I actually, it'd be interesting to see if I could run my business going after a couple days. Now, I have a lot, I have a young family, so I can't be gone that long, but. I was thinking about that going, I could actually do more adventuring if I had, better internet and stuff. I could be gone for a night or two. I can go, I could do, that's not too bad. I was talking to Scott Brady over in Journal, and I'm like, most people can't go out 12 days, like Clay and Rochelle. Like they're like, we're going to conquer South Africa today or something like that. And they're like gone for like a month and a half, and they homeschool their kids. And I mean, they have figured out. But I just can't do that. Like that would just drive me up a wall. But I think my point was with the way that the world is going, Starlink, and the other thing that's happening is there's so much more online, so much more noise in our faces, so much more video games and things to do that people just want to break.
Yeah.
I think they harken back to that days of like having a flip phone, not having the whole connectivity, not having to post for the gram all the time. That there's a lot of people out there that are just like, I just want to live. Like I don't need to have Facebook open. I don't need to have Twitter open. I just want to go out there and just be gone a couple of days and live.
And people crave that. What's funny is they really crave, like, I just need to get, and I think is, human, whatever you believe, how we came to be. But at some point we were in the woods, and I think something about there's a pull to be like, I just need to kind of detach for a while.
Yeah, I mean, every time we go family camping once a year. We have a big family camp. Together, like 30, 40 of us to get together, my wife's side of the family. And
damn, 30 or 40, that's not a camp, that's a village.
Yeah, no, it's we had set up like 2 or 3 8-foot tables for dinner, and we have taco nights, we have burger. I mean, it's a pretty big deal. But it's like people love it because they're like, hey, my cell phone doesn't work here, and I'm like, man, it just drives me up a wall.
No, yeah, there's well, for what we do, because when the photos
business,
the photos when the photos leaked of the Tacoma a couple days before the launch was or whatever, and you were out having fun with your brother, and I'm texting you going, hey man, there's some photos out, and you're just like, I'm wrapped up in something right now, I can't get to that. And
I was wrapped up in a bottle of whiskey at the time. There's no way I was doing a live stream. You're like
70,000 views later, I'm happy to share that and guys, if you would smash that like, I don't care which channel you're on, smash the like button. Trust me, it just helps people find this show, and whether you're a fan of Tim or on my channel, we would greatly appreciate that. And once again, if you're on Tim's channel, come say hi to me on mine sometime. I would greatly appreciate that. So Tim, sweet spot, because I want to get through a couple of these trucks. Sweet spot of the Toyota, where do you think? I always look for trucks as 4-wheel drives. I don't ever consider a 2-wheel drive. So the Pre-Runner for me is not on my list of vehicles, because I use what I think of a truck is if there's a snowstorm, there's something, and we do get ice here in Middle Tennessee. I want the most capable vehicle to get my family out of if there was some reason to do it. So as a 4-wheel drive, where is the sweet spot, do you think, of the Toyota lineup?
So I got to say 2 things. First of all, I love the fact you're always saying Middle Tennessee, because I always say Western Nebraska. And I get a bunch of crap for that, but people don't understand that our states are long and narrow,
Yes.
and driving from one side to the other is quite a while. I mean, it's yeah. So I was just gonna look because you pulled up that thing, and so I had just talked with the Toyota PR guy on what is available for this year. So the hybrid is not available till
Right.
next year, but
So
I was
that's
like,
what the first
right.
first
So,
row you're up?
so the TRD Pro is out, right? Trail Hunter is out because those will always be hybrid only. So limited TRD Off-Road, TRD Sport, and the SR5 are basically the choices that you would have this year.
Right.
And I would go. I think the TRD Off-Road is probably the sweet spot because you do get crawl control, which is pretty good technology. You can get manual transmission. You can get the multi-train select. TRD Sport, again, that's dry pavement kind of stuff. And then
sports kind of seemed like sports always been kind of their sweet spot, but them adding a new with the Trail Hunter like kind of pushes sport down as for what I would think.
I always thought sport was like Miami driving around, right?
Yeah.
So mostly pavement or Chicago or LA or something like that. Like for me, the TRD off road is probably where I would go with. Just seeing if I could. I wish building price was set up. I really wish the building price was set up because I'd love
Trust
to.
me.
I know I'd have like 7 videos now because I love the build and price days because it's interesting. And I think it's interesting. So this is my question for you. You've seen a lot of discussions online about the air dam. And so I was thinking about this the other day, and people are like, "Oh my God, air jam's so gigantic," all that kind of stuff. And Sheldon was talking about the fact they raised the truck up and they made it a little bit wider, which meant they had to deal with something with the air, and they had to do it for aero for EPA. But the size of it and the shape of it, the design of it, to me, it's kind of like a middle finger to EPA. They made it look so dumb that it's just like, here, EPA, this is how dumb you want our trucks to look. And then the first question I had for him was like, okay, all right. I said, I was talking to Sheldon, and I was like, all right, so how do you take this off? He goes, it's 9 bolts. It's easy. You can use a crest. He's like,
yeah.
He goes, no, you don't understand. Like, we had to get 9 because of structure. If you hit something with the air dam, we had to make sure it lasts. I mean, there's some quality behind it. But he goes, no, it's 9 bolts, Tim. It's 9. It's he's like, we made it. He goes, actually,
they know. They definitely know.
Oh, I asked him about quick release. I asked him if he did any quick release stuff, and he goes, yeah, actually, we looked at quick release because we're like, we just quick release, take off the air dam if we're going to go off roading, and then pop right back on if you want to take it on, whatever.
Kind of like what Ford does with the Bronco and the fenders. You just turn it and
pop off. He says, yeah, we looked at it, we tried it, we tested it, we beat it around, we couldn't get those things to stay on tight enough. They always pop loose a little bit. And so he's like, that we couldn't go with it. But he goes, yeah, we looked at that too. So, I mean, and they know, like, but I would take the TRD off-road and I would take the air dam off, obviously. And then I think that's the sweet spot. I mean, but I can't overemphasize how good the new Tacoma is inside.
Well, me and Kelly talked. We talked about the Tundra, and the Tundra for a full size would probably be my top choice right now because I like the interior of the Tundra. And now there are some differences that I've seen. You've got to touch this vehicle, so you know a little bit more. But I like the fact that they brought a lot of the Tundra look in, but they did let it kind of have its own look as well. But I like the screen of the Tundra. I love the interiors. I like the bright red of the Pro. I like that a lot. Now, would it wear on you after a while? Maybe. But most people don't own a vehicle past 3 years anyway, so eventually you're going to get rid of it. But I'm with you. I think it's a great interior.
Yeah, I think it's. I was blown away, and I was also blown away by the fact I was talking to some of the VPs before I went out there, and he was like, "Well," I said, "I hate the bob and weave. So you have to bob and weave to get in the Tacoma. I hate the bob and weave." And he goes, "No, we fixed that." So when I got into it, the first thing I did was, did I have to bob and weave? I don't. I can actually get in without having to do a whole thing. And I'm like 5'7". Like, it's not that big of a deal. I'm not that.
How is the seat? Does the seating position in this thing just like the previous one, where you kind of stretch out, or is it more American style up?
It's fundamentally different. It's more traditional. Like, you have they really more hip knee bend. You sit up higher in the seat. You have more headroom. I mean, they went. And, the one thing that Sheldon did really well was he listened to all the criticism and he took it back, and it's almost like the dude made a list. They don't like this, don't like this, don't like this. Okay, let's fix that, fix that. I mean, it's just like checking stuff off the list. And he comes back to this vehicle. It's like, oh my gosh, people, a lot of times I get questions on the channel like, So did they fix that? Did they fix this? Did they fix that? You know, and people perceive things like, oh, my buddy's 29 Ford M50 had a problem with the transmission. You know, I mean, did they fix that? I'm like, well, it's the transmission you're talking about doesn't exist anymore. So, you know, call that fixed. But in this case, it was nice to be able to say to people, yeah, they fixed that. Yes, they fixed that. Yes, they fixed that. And then Fubar has a question. You want to throw that up there? It's an interesting question.
Yeah.
So Fubar Mechanic says, why can Toyota and Nissan offer long bed crew cabs, but not a short bed, bigger cab? They say the garage reasons that they offer a long wheelbase truck anyways. Because once you go a bigger cab, then you have to do everything in a bigger cab. So, and people don't want a shorter bed. The bed length is already kind of set in stone where it's got to be, and so you can't make it any longer. So you have to have the similar size crew cab. And then the other thing too is like they can offer the long wheelbase for those customers who have the longer garage. You don't care about that stuff. The core audience still garage ability is a huge issue. So that they have to do those.
And let me jump in on that because a lot of people don't realize the framing of these vehicles. There's a reason sometimes they want to offer a longer frame. And you know what's coming up? 4Runner. And guess what? 4Runner's built on the same frame. And sometimes the short bed configuration works for normal just trucks, what they want to build, but they want that longer framing because there's a 4Runner coming. And that's why Nissan did this with the Xterra. And a lot of that was because it was the same frame. And the SUVs need a little bit longer frame. So it gives opportunity to allow for a extra cab.
Yeah, that's a great point. Economics of scale, right?
Yep.
So if you can use the same frame multiple ways, there you go.
Yeah.
Any issue with 6.1 on the sunroof? Todd wants to know, and a 10-gallon hat.
Maybe you need to do like Corey does, Tim, on these when you get first looks at them. You know, Corey, our buddy over at GT Garage, he likes to take. He brings his suitcases with him, and it's part of his thing. He likes to see how many suitcases you can get in. Tim, you need a 10-gallon hat. The 10-gallon hat.
That's probably the last thing I need in the channel. So the problem with the sunroof is going to be structurally they have to add more runners more steel bars above the cabin for structural integrity when you're rolling over an accident, because now you have the sunroof in the situation. So sunroofs are notoriously hard for some taller guys to sit in mid-sized trucks with.
Yeah.
So I would, and the other issue with talking about height, and as a shorter guy, I've learned this quite a bit, is that it really depends on your structure. Do you have a longer torso or longer legs? And I will tell you that I could talk to 3 or 4 guys. They're all 6'2", right? But I have one 6'2" guy that hates Tacoma, one 6'2" guy that loves Tacoma, right? The current generation, the third generation. And it comes down to how their torso set up. You know, if you have longer legs, sometimes it seems like the longer legs or the shorter legs, one of the two, are better for the Tacoma currently. And I see that all the time with people. Like my neighbor's 6'3", and he's got a long torso. And so he brought it up to me, he pointed it out. And I was talking to Dan Edmonds, who's at Car and Driver now. And he's 6'3", I think he is, but he's got long legs. And so, you know, it depends on your overall makeup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I've seen this a lot. I want a 2-seater manual. Like manual, that's another thing with Toyota, and I'm going to move on to Ford here in a minute. But once again, Toyota sells so many of these trucks. You know, if you look at the percentage, what is it, Tim? Like less than 5% buy a manual transmission, something like that.
Yeah, it's very.
So
very low.
if you take Toyota's 5% of a manual transmission versus Ford, that's a big difference in vehicles. If you're selling over 200,000 versus maybe 100,000, so I commend Toyota once again for having that option of what people want. Now it's a bummer, and I didn't expect with the hybrid technology that you could get that with the hybrids, but still, even to the TRD off-road that we just looked at, you can still get the manual transmission all the way up there. Yeah. So now you're not going to get all the horsepower that you could, but you're getting the vehicle you want.
Well, yeah, and Sheldon made a point. Sheldon said on the fireside chat, which I should have recorded more of it, but he goes, I get on forums, I get on YouTube comments. He goes, he reads all this stuff, he watches all our videos, he's into this stuff. And he goes, everybody says, I want a base truck, I want 2-wheel drive, I want, you know, all this kind of manual windows. He said, look, he pointed at the extra cab and he goes, there's your truck. He goes, there it is. That's the best I can do with crash testing, with safety things, with technology. They have to have certain things in trucks these days. That extra cab, SR, SR5, and even the pre-runner, that's it. That's his base of a truck he can possibly build for you. So if that truck you want, he's like, here you go. That's the best I can do. And again, he had to fight tooth and nail to get that out there because of economics, right? So I mean, they don't sell many 6-speed manuals. You have additional problems in production line. You got to make sure you can build these with different swapping. You're adding another transmission in the production line, which creates more complexity, which causes you have to have this build rate. You got to make sure the line's moving certain speeds to make money. So there's a lot of factors involved. But yeah, that's basically the extra cab is that's your truck. That's literally the best they can do. They can't do they can't do manual windows. Nobody's going to buy it. They have to do certain things. They have to do. I mean, they just have to in today's marketplace. But that's the base as you can get.
Right. And people don't realize too, I know Nissan, the last Frontier that sold for 16 years plus, they would still offer in their 4-cylinder some manual windows and stuff like that, but that actually costs them more to do because the take rate was so low that it just makes sense to just know here, just everybody gets it now.
Yeah, that's right.
So I am surprised Matt pockets Tim in these trucks, like we've talked about with Chevrolet, why that's an option now. I don't know versus standard, but and two, I want to show you this before I move on to Ford. 8 options over here, 8 different trims, and I'm gonna pull up the next competition, and you're not gonna get all of that with the next brand there. We're getting really 3 trims right now. I won't say Raptor is its own trims because it's so hard to get, but Ford is kind of the next. I don't know who sells more midsize. Is it Ford or Chevrolet would be the next midsize?
Yeah, Chevy. So if you combine the GM twins, they sell more. I think Chevy Colorado sells more overall than the Ford Ranger does currently. So the Colorado is more their secondary competition. But that's what I said it in one of my videos. I said the thing you don't understand with Toyota is Toyota notoriously offers least options, least choices, because they understand economics of scale. They understand making money. They're the reason why Toyota is one of the largest companies in the world because they'd offer less choices, and less choices mean more money. And in this particular case with Tacoma, they flipped the script on that, which is, again, from my viewpoint, occurring in this industry now for 12 years, whatever, that is remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. I don't know.
And with the Toyota, with their trims, you basically get what that trim is. You don't add on to that trim, and I think that's one of the things like with Ford's, I don't like about the way they do it, because I can get an XL and start adding everything back to it, and I can end up paying almost a lariat price for an XL.
Right.
I like the fact that Nissan is the same way. The import brands, for whatever reason, they're like, no, you get what we build you, and that's what you get. And I think, I know I think it was Farley said something about they wanted the customer, they like people ordering vehicles because it makes the customer happy. It's a long-term purchase. They got exactly what they want. But I think that's why Toyota and them have done so well, is because people are happy because that's all you get. So Toyota brand, this is what we offer you.
It's easy to criticize Toyota, and people do it all the time. Like, I wish I could order a Toyota, and you really can't order a Toyota. Like, Toyota's just going to go, they're going to build what they're going to build. They're going to ship in dealerships. And they're like, I wish I had this option. I wish I had that option. I'm like, I understand. And then all of a sudden, Toyota leads in sales again. It's like, and they're like, I wish Toyota, it's like, damn it, I wish Toyota would give me this option, but I'm going to buy one anyways. I mean, you see it all the time. And so it is interesting that Ford now, that is notorious for offering so many options that they can't even, you can't keep track of them, and they lose money on the F50 with all the options. That's why they've kind of started cutting back some of the options F50 to make it easier to build, because they offered too much customization, are now offering like little customization in the Ranger.
Right. And Todd says it's a wonderful way to save costs. Most vehicles come fully optioned already, but the low end and add features you want aftermarket. Yeah, I totally agree. You can go get like with Ford. I think Ford, the sweet spot for them is the XLT. I think from sitting in that vehicle. Now, we didn't, obviously, me and you, Tim, didn't get to see all the options that were available for that, but we saw the FX4 package, I believe, with that truck. You're still getting cloth seats, which don't bother me at all, because modern cloth seats are pretty durable. It's not their old.
And Ford, I actually like the cloth seats better than I like their higher trim, like King Ranch seats. The King Ranch seats are tough.
And you've noticed they actually had some style to them too. The days of just like a plain cloth, they look good. But but
you can build the XLT up, and so I built mine up for $45,000 with cloth seats. People were like, well, what the hell? You can't get leather for $45,000? And I'm like, I don't want leather. Like, I like the fact I can get cloth.
Mm-hmm. But the XL, so Ford is starting with a 2-wheel drive at $32,565. We'll click it over, and 4-wheel drives $36,000 entry level into a Ford Ranger.
Mm-hmm.
that's a chunk of money there. And I always tell people too, they always fuss about prices, prices, prices. And I'm like, we don't live 20 years ago. You know,
Oh,
everybody
yeah.
remembers probably their last purchase was 3 to 7 years ago, something like that. So that's their base of like what things cost. And yeah, if you were in a Nissan Frontier, you could get the 4-door for $28,000 all day long. Well, we don't live 15 years ago. Like we live in today, and unfortunately, prices have went up. Of course, we know we're in I won't say a recession. I don't know what we want to
We're in
call
a
this.
weird.
Inflation is up. You
It's
know,
just
inflation is definitely there. And I know Ford, when people were ordering Raptors and their because order banks went open yesterday for the Ranger.
yeah.
Ford, it's stipulated price can change, MSRP can
Oh,
change,
yeah.
and people are all scared. Oh, it's the dealer trying to do markups. No, it's because inflation right now. They're
And
trying to
parts.
play the game too.
Right, and it's such a weird economy. Inflation's up, interest rates are up, and yet the seasonal adjusted rate for vehicle sales for last month is expected to almost break a record. I mean, it's like new inventories in lots. People are buying new inventory up like crazy, and so jobs are there's tons of job openings, and the stock market's doing this normal weird stuff. And it's just a weird place to be. But people are I think for everybody that every one person I get on my channel that says, well, trucks are too expensive and I'm never buying one. I get like 4 emails, people going, hey, I want to buy this truck. I have an order in. What do you think of this? What do you think?
Yeah.
So it's just like, I understand the frustration with pricing, but people are buying them. Like people are buying the hell out of these. I mean, and so you can get mad about it or you can go, you know what? I mean, it's what it is. People are buying the hell out of these trucks. And so I was going to check that. I was curious about this. This is a great part about having a dealership near me, Ford dealer, is I did not realize the STX package on the Ford Ranger
Mhm.
and the Ford M50. That package is actually one of the better, one of the hotter packages. Why do I always?
Well, it's just an appearance package, right?
Yeah, but people freaking love that thing.
Huh. Honestly, because I don't pay a ton of, for F-150, my audience is generally more mid-sized trucks. So I haven't given it a lot of thought. And I remember seeing the STX at that press event going, I had to remember what STX was. I hadn't seen it in
Yeah,
a while.
yeah. No, I mean, and when I did my Ford M50 XTX package video, it's still one of my better Ford M50 packages or videos
Yeah.
because people love that package.
Yeah. No,
And
it definitely, and with the XL, you can get some nice looks to it, which I will be honest, I think so if this XL is Ford's bottom tier, obviously you're not getting Steelies and stuff like that. I think that's a pretty nice entry level truck. I mean, if you look at it here, I'll just pull this up real quick.
yeah, so STX package is included on
Mhm.
the XL. So XL models, STX fender badge, 17-inch silver pane aluminum wheels, dampened tailgate, the LED reflector headlamps, the fog lamps halogen, and the premium cloth bucket seats. And people, I mean, that's a really good option. People love that option too because you get a base truck that doesn't look so base, which is what, and you get the dampened tailgate, you get the fog lamps, you get LED reflector headlamps, LEDs,
Mhm.
you get STX badging. I mean, that's a great package, and I'm
Mhm.
looking at it as included. If I take it off, I can't take it off. So in the XL, it's included. And yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, I get it.
And you still with Ford, you get some fun colors, but I do think something Toyota is doing better, the wide range of cool colors they offer. They know black, silver, white are always going to be there. Those are the trendy colors that are just consistent. But it seems like Toyota is offering, like the what is it, the solar octane, the bright orange
You
and
know,
stuff.
yeah.
And something I know I've seen with my Ford audience is Ford's getting beat up with their color options right now. Like look at the bland palette we have here of like, now this is entry level, so I can go back into a little bit higher trim level.
But
But
their best. I don't know about. I don't know if you agree with this, but to me, the best color they have is in the Ranger Raptor and the Shelter Green Metallic.
that's what I ordered.
That's- that is. You should pull that one up. That is a badass color. Like
And that's a color that
that's the one that
this
Motor Trend
color in
sells.
person is completely different too.
Oh
Now it
my
looks kind of green, military green right there,
gosh.
but it changes slightly in light.
Oh, it looks so amazing. It looks absolutely amazing in person. And that was my bitch. Was it Car and Driver or Motor Trend 102 that was like
Yes, they were hogging
hogging
this
it?
car.
Oh, I was so pissed at those guys because I had to do a video on not had to, but I did my video on the Ranger Raptor there. They had two of them, and one of them was it a black or silver? It wasn't anything too exciting.
Oh, it
That
was
show,
Azure Gray. They had this and Azure Gray.
yeah, Azure Gray, and Azure Gray looks good, but it's not this. That looks. I wish I had done a video on that. I wish I had more time. I would have thrown some elbows, but I did not know
Well,
that.
the cool thing about this color is the way they do the interior with the orange Ford Performance colors. That orange with that green,
Oh,
just a little bit, is going to be great.
it looks
And
amazing.
now that orange with the Azure Gray was okay. Me and Kelly we spent about an hour with that truck with the Azure Gray one, and it wasn't bad. But ultimately, I like launch colors for one thing, and this is the exclusive launch color. This color is only on Raptor. I think you'll end up seeing it on the Bronco Raptor as well, which I've got some inside information. I can't talk about it, damn it, but the Raptor guy is going to be happy down the road. I can tell you that. But no, I think this was the color for me. But once again, though, Tim, if you look at the options, even for their thoroughbred, there's white or black, white.
Yeah.
This is the silver. There's that green. I'm a little iffy on the hot pepper red, because it's got kind of a weird orange tint to it that I either want a red or I want orange. I don't want some weird in between. But, wow, we got another gray. And the one exciting color is this Velocity Blue, which if you want to, I said it in my video yesterday, if you want a pop in color,
yeah,
you want to be seen, that's definitely a color for you. But then they go with the Cactus Gray that's on the Broncos, which is okay. It's not
okay.
bad.
It doesn't stand out that. I mean, just
Yeah.
okay.
And then this is that Azure Gray you were talking about that we did in the video. And once again, it's nice. It's a different color for a truck, but I don't know for nearly $60,000 it's the color for me.
Yeah. Two things. Underscore 35 is available on these Raptors. Yeah. You can put 35s on there. They do it in Australia all the time. It's not so
they're going to do a little trimming. I did look at that, Tim, because I have an off-road audience. It definitely has the crash bars and stuff behind the wheel well and in front.
Right.
And it's based around the Bronco. So I don't know. I didn't get to check if they were removable like they are on the Bronco, but I would say it'd be pretty easy.
Yeah, I mean, so Ford didn't come out and say it, but they're like, guys doing it in Australia, so they do fit. And Bud Guy wants to know the wheel well width and bed height of all these mid-sized trucks. I would say the bed height was pretty good, except for me, the bed height was really good except for the off-road versions like the Canyon AT4X, because you have the bigger tires. The Ranger Raptor, because you have the bigger tires. So if you go with like the SR5 or you go with the Ford XLT, I can reach in the bed pretty decent. That's not a big issue. Wheel well width. That's an interesting question. I mean,
yeah, I don't.
Wider.
That's
I
a tough
mean,
one.
yeah, the trucks are wider because of the tires and things, and there's more room in there as far as for fitting wheels in. But yeah, I would say the wheel well width is fine. The bed height, again, depending on how tall you are, if you don't go with the off-road version, it's pretty easy to get into those trucks.
Now, so height of this thing, let me bring this up. I'm 5'8" on a good day, and that's the back of the Raptor.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so Dave and I are about the same height. I think you're just a touch taller than me, but it's not like it's that big of a difference.
No, it's not noticeable.
Yeah, and so if you go off road Ranger Raptor, you're gonna have some problems. But I was standing next to the Lariat, I believe, and I could reach in the bed of Lariat, so I had no problem with that.
Yeah, no, it was definitely. I did have to comment about that in that video because it was definitely noticeable.
Well, I'm getting the AT4 Canyon this next week, and I can't wait because I couldn't really get into it when it was hard for me to climb up into those things. The AT4X is even worse because of the height. The video Jill and I did, Jill actually literally takes a running jump and she tries to hop in the cabin because Jill's tall. Like it's hard for, it's like yeah, once you do bigger tires and stuff, that's why it's like I want to modify my trucks more these days. But the more modifications I do, the first thing's got to be is like step rails because I can't get into the damn things.
Right. Well, so last up that we'll talk about here, and Tim, I appreciate you coming on these shows, by the way, is the Chevrolet. So we've got the Chevrolet option here, and according to Tim, this is the second best selling truck, which I have no reason to doubt that whatsoever. But you don't seem to be getting a lot of kind of fun options once again. Now they do have one extra trim that it seems like that Ford doesn't have, because the ZR2 is not a Raptor by any means. It is a high-end off-road truck, but it's not fully silly like the Raptor is.
And GM's done that for years. They never built really a Ranger, a Raptor competitor, and I think they're smart. So somebody else wants to know, well, Ford come out of the Ranger long bed because there's spy photos Ranger long bed. Da da da. Look, if people start buying a lot of long bed Tacomas, then yes, everybody will do it. And the same thing with the Raptor versus GM's version of the Raptor.
Yeah.
People love talking about the Raptor, but the sales aren't big enough to have multiple competitors. Ram did with TRX because, that's Stellantis. Stellantis is like, well, let's not put an EV out there. Let's throw a Hellcat engine in there. Yeah. We make jokes all the time. There's going to be a Pacifica SRT Hellcat version because that's the way Stellantis is with their vehicles. And so it's like
Ford's getting with that with the Ranger or the Raptor, it seems like.
Oh, yeah. But the Raptor is such a big brand for them. It's a no-brainer for them to do that. If Chevy had something that was no-brainer, but to me, the ZR2 is a pretty solid Ranger.
Oh, it's great truck.
It's not as crazy, but my goodness, unless you're doing a full hands device with the shoulder blades that block in the helmet and doing major off-roading with the Borrego Springs kind of situation, or out in the desert in Arizona, like you don't need all that capability. It just doesn't need it, but on a daily basis, but it looks damn cool. Like it looks pretty damn cool. And to say you have a Raptor, and one of the things that's cool with Raptors and off-road trucks is like in the washboards of the country, those off-road trucks do great. I remember I had a Raptor a couple years ago before my mother-in-law passed, and I was driving out to the farm, and I said, "Well, how fast do you think we're going?" And I had my father-in-law and my mother-in-law in there, and they look around, and they're like, "We're doing about 20." I said, "I'm doing 70." And they're just like, "Wait, what?" Because the Raptor is better the faster you go, because the suspension can glide better across stuff. It reminds me of my friend picked me up in Lamborghini once in LA, and we're trying to Lamborghini Ferrari, I forget what the damn thing was, and we're driving around like LA at like 20 miles an hour, and the thing was terrible.
Oh, I bet
it's meant to go fast. I mean, that's what they're built for. So a lot of people are like, I'm going to buy this Raptor and I'm going to drive the store and back, and wow, it's really loud and use a lot of gas.
Yeah. Well, the thing. And the thing with ZR2, so Chevy's never went full Raptor with their big trucks, but what they did do, they had the ZR2 when nobody else was going front rear lockers in the trucks. This truck previously was the king of mid-size off-road trucks. Like, this was it. And I think Chevrolet's going to have to adapt a little bit. I think we'll see with the Bison that's supposed to come out at the end of the month. I think we will kind of get a hint of what's to come, some fun things to come.
Yeah, that's 31st, by the way.
Yeah,
9 a.m. on 31st, 9 a.m. Eastern time.
Yeah, so we're going to see some fun with that. But I think ZR2. I think the only disappointment with people with Chevrolet right now is, yes, it's a Ford. Toyota can get away with a 4-cylinder for whatever reason. People just always think, back. I guess it's from the 70s and 80s where GM and all these companies didn't have a good 4-cylinder. They knew how to build V8s, and that was it. I think something about the import brands with their 4-cylinders are just known to be a better quality engine. But had they just went something a little bit more than 310 horsepower in this thing, it already sort of horsepower wise looks old now that we've seen the other two guys out there.
I took some shit about this when I first saw my video on the Colorado Drive, and I still stand to it. The mid-level tune on the Colorado is too slow. The high output tune is so much better. And the fact every GMC Canyon comes with a high output tune is awesome. And the ZR2 will come with a high output tune. The high output tune is the truck feels alive. It really does. And then if you take this with a tuner, right? So that's the thing people don't talk about all the time. They're like, oh, it's a 4-cylinder. It's a 4-cylinder. Stupid. Well, no, it's got a turbo on it. And the best thing with turbo is it's easy to tune. And so these tuners are going, man, I can throw a tune on that and get another 40, 50 horsepower out of it if I just make a more aggressive tune. If I just go get a Banks Power Dash or whatever, change the way the throttle response is going to feel a lot faster. And these trucks are able to do that. I mean, they're able to be tuned up to that much more performance. So that's one of the things I understand the frustration of reliability on turbos. I get it. I don't think it's the case anymore. If you look at, we've had an EcoBoost 3.5 liter V6 for 12 years now. And there's always, my one wife's brother's cousin turbo went out, or, yes. I mean, that does happen, but overall.
Well, I've seen that with the Ranger, people wanting the 2.7 in the new Ranger, but they're like, I'm going to wait till they get the engine issues worked out. And I was like, that was 2001. And that was like less than 60 trucks that had a valve issue. Like, but that scarred the brand so bad right now.
there was an issue with the charged air cooler used to get moisture in it in southern climates. People were drilling little holes in the charged air cooler to get it to drain so that water wasn't sucking in the engine, and Ford fixed that. I mean, these are things that yes, that was the case, but we've had small displacement turbo engines for decades now, and you're just not. If you go on forums looking for problems, you can find problems, right? I mean, that's the way it's going to work. But if you look at
happy people don't write about things.
Right. But statistically, there's a ton of turbocharged engines out there. I had a guy get mad at me, goes, I don't know if Ford does turbocharged engines. No, we want V6s. And I was like, go find a midsize truck that doesn't have a V6, that has a V6. Yeah. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, there's not out there. What beside right now, it's what Nissan Frontier and Jeep Gladiator are the only two that offer a natural aspirated engine. And that Jeep Gladiator, that engine is going away. That'll become a Hurricane.
Well, I don't know that the Gladiators, like, there's a lot of down talk on Gladiator right now that it may not with the
may not survive either.
Wrangler being refreshed, that it may not get the refresh and they just may put it out to pasture.
Right. And if so, for example, Andrew's talking about if they bring back a Ram Dakota, I think the Jeep Gladiator days are numbered, because Jeep's not going to, because Stellantis is not going to compete with itself with a Gladiator and a Ram. I don't think there's enough market share there.
I don't buy that. So I don't buy that because trucks are now cars. And look at Maverick. Maverick plays in a entry level. Now they got Ranger, which is only a couple $1,000s more. Like, I think that these manufacturers now are willing to just play this couple $1,000 price point.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. I don't know. It just seems like the Gladiator sales have never been amazing. Oh, did Dave leave?
I'm back. Sorry.
I was like, wow, I didn't think my pitch dropped that badly. But I mean, the Gladiator sales have never been that strong. They've never been that strong. And so
pandemic, right during the middle of the pandemic, they were, because you couldn't get anything.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, it's just, yeah, I think that, I don't know if they can survive, but there's so much energy in the marketplace and there's so much energy off-roading. I can see the Gladiator last a bit longer because it should be pretty easy from the build. The only additional cost is a little bit longer frame. Yeah. But overall, it's not that much difference. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm excited to see how much the midsize truck market explodes. Like, that's my question.
I really think it's going to. If you look, we're talking about color options with Ford. GM has some least fun colors up there, man.
Yeah, I mean, and the yellow is really interesting. So the yellow in person, I think it looks pretty good, but boy, the comments online are like not kind to that.
I think it's a color that if you could put some graphics packages on it, if GM were to do that a little bit, I think it would tame it down just a little bit. I like it. I like bright colors like that. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I've seen this color in person on some other vehicle they do. But no, I don't dislike it. But, they do have that green, kind of like what Ford has there a little bit.
Yeah. I don't understand why green's not more of a color option. Like, I love green trucks, and they went away for a long period of time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man.
This is the color I wish that I could have gotten on the Ranger Raptor, is a dark red. I like red cars, and unfortunately they're not doing that. And GM always has a nice, pretty red on their vehicles. But they, once again, you want the basic colors, they have them for you, but they even are going after like kind of that military guy that wants maybe that kind of sand color. They have that, and but the price of it, looking at, they do upcharge for a lot of things on paints. Ford has one that they're upcharging on.
The bitch of the Colorado I have is twofold, and we were kind of making jokes. I was sitting with Andre and Roman in Hawaii talking about this. Is number one, you have the option up to get cruise control.
Yes.
What the hell? And number two, you have to go convenience package 3 to get a heated steering wheel, where convenience package 2 is heated seats. Yes. And I'm like, it's the marketing packaging is just dumb. And I've even talked to some GM engineers on the side, and they're just like, yeah, our stuff's stupid. Like, the engineers, they can't control that. That's marketing. They can't control what package is happening. But they're just like, this is just dumb. It's just like, this is dumb.
No, and it confuses a buyer on their build and price websites, because you go to click something and you don't notice it. Suddenly it puts you in a different package. And you're like, how did I go from $45,000 to $54,000? You're like, what did I do?
And I just added a heated steering wheel. And I went, what? Because you have to get all these other options. And I know why they're doing it. It's a play for money, and they're trying to, I understand, but it's like just dumb. Like just
Yeah.
like there should be some stuff like Toyota does it really well. There's some stuff they just make standard. They don't even care. All their
Yeah.
safety equipment is standard. You can't like TSS 3.0 or 2.5, whatever they're going to do on the Tacoma. I can't remember if it's 2.5 or 3.0. Anyways, that's all just standard. Like they're just standard. Like we're not going to even play this game if you have to get additional safety package, whatever. Just standard. Be done with it. Yeah. So I don't know.
So Tim, you've been in pretty much all the vehicles now. Rank these from worst to best. What's the interior? What's yours? I mean, I think for me, Nissan's probably the bottom of the pack right now because they just built a truck that was just once again up to today's standards, and their refresh cycle is not with everybody else's. They need to get with the times and get in the same cycle as everybody else.
Oh yeah, when the new trucks came out, the Frontier looked old, and wow, it went old immediately.
It's a good looking truck, though. I like it.
Yeah, I think the exterior. So I would say this, as somebody posted about this on Facebook a little bit. I think the exterior looks really competitive.
Mm-hmm.
Interior wise, doesn't look so great.
Well, we've seen the Titan since 16. Basically, with the same interior.
Yeah, it's the same deal. I want to say now it's getting tough because you could throw Gladiator in there just because Gladiator is the oldest, and my only bitch the Gladiator, and you had one for a long period of time, is the
It leaves me next week. I'll be very happy.
My only issue with the Gladiator over time was the seat was like more of a forward seat. It just you tend to you felt like you're over top of the dash, which is something the Wrangler does, and Gladiator kept too. And that's my only complaint about it was I don't know that I could do a long drive with Gladiator. And I think you did some videos on that where you did like a long drive and you're like, okay, all right, hold on. Like this is a bit much.
Yeah. Underscore, you can get it with an optional hybrid, but it's it's not a traditional hybrid like everybody thinks of a hybrid.
No, it's a mild hybrid. So the Tacoma, it comes turbocharged, 2.4 liter, 2.4, I think, turbocharged, and then the also 2.4 liter hybrid. And there's a question about fuel economy. I don't think I would love to see Toyota do a RAV4 Prime situation with the Tacoma and get like 38 miles per gallon. But now that we have the numbers out there, I think they'll be mid 20s. I don't think they're not going to be that much competitive.
Trucks in a plug-in hybrid are never going to work, man. Never going to work. No. I understand why people like it in the SUVs, but it just wouldn't work.
It destroys towing. It destroys payload. It's additional cost. It just doesn't work at all. And even if you look at the people offering plug-in hybrids, it's a trim level. It's a select vehicle. Like it's not across all the spectrum. Like it's not something they want to offer very much. And the more I drive plug-in hybrids, the more I understand. Like people like Jill lives in Chicago, the more it work for her and her situation. But the more it just doesn't work. It just like I had that Mitsubishi Outlander. I drove plug-in hybrid. I drove across town like 20 miles. I ran out, not even 20 miles, 10 miles. I ran out of range. All the battery power, and the pricing was ridiculous. It was like $15,000 to $20,000 more versus just the gas version. But so let's get back to interior. So I know you want to ask me about that. So I'm going to go Frontier, Gladiator. I'm going to go Ranger. I'm going to go. Golly. I'm gonna go GM Twins. Then I'm gonna go with the Tacoma. I think the Tacoma. So here's the thing that I guess I may not come across in the videos did, but when I sat in the Tacoma first time, I literally like hopped in. What did we do? We did not the Pro first. We did the TRD Sport first, and I hopped in the TRD Sport, and Joe hopped in next to me, and I sat down and I went, oh, it feels so good. Like everything, it didn't even adjust the seat at all. I just sat in it and everything was just perfect. The knobs are perfect. The screen's perfect. The steering was perfect. The seat, everything was just perfect the first time I sat into it. I thought the Colorado interior was pretty good as well, but when I sat in Tacoma, I just felt like it fit me perfectly. I don't know why. Just once, and I think it's probably one of the situations that people get at dealer lots. If you have inventory, you can walk around, or you go to an auto show. Which, by the way, always go to the auto show. It's really cool. If you go to the auto show and sit in these trucks, sometimes you sit in just one. You're like, man, it just sits perfectly. It fits so well.
Yeah, I would, for me, interior wise, I'm going to put Gladiator down at the bottom, and I own one, so I have a lot of experience with it. I think it was nice for 2020. I think the screen now if it gets the refresh screen like the Wrangler's getting and stuff like that, that would help. But the screen looks tiny in comparison to today's. I will say the Gladiator has the best, and Jeep in general has the best backup cameras I've ever seen. It's like HD, like they're crisp. Nissan has the worst I've ever seen. Like it's still from like I feel like 1995. It's just fuzzy.
The Nissan Frontier isn't bad. I see Dave in Canada on here, but it's not bad, but it's just not good. Like it's okay. It's okay.
It's average.
Yeah, it's just really average. And
even in the Pro 4X, I mean, you're getting nice leather seats and stuff. But the problem I had with the Frontier, and you probably most of you don't know, but I've been a big Nissan fanboy. Tim knows for a long time. I like underdog brands. But the problem I had is they put nice front seats in, nice cool stitching and stuff. The back seats are plain. It's just like they ran out of money, and it's like, well, we'll just nobody cares. And if you look at the Ranger Raptor, and even Ranger in general, I won't say Raptor because it's supposed to be high end, but the trims follow through to the rear seats of the vehicles, where Nissan doesn't always do that. They give the front seats a style, and then the back seats are sort of plain. I like it. Rides great. Nissan seat technology is really good. It's very comfortable. I've gotten incredible mileage. I got 27. What did I get on that? On my Hyperloop. Where is it at? Where you at? 26.3 on a 40-mile Hyperloop that I do. Now I'm pushing the limits of what these vehicles can do, but I get a lot of comments on that video where people are going, dude, I get 27 miles per gallon out of that truck. And I mean, if it was just one comment, I'd be like, well, that's just somebody. No, I get a lot of comments of mid-20s out of a naturally aspirated V6 engine. Could you imagine if they could do a turbocharged version of that, like where it could help?
Yeah, that V6. I think the days are numbered. I think I've said it before. I think days numbered on V6s and V8s. I just see more and more brands going because the grams of CO2 per mile are less. I mean, it's just it's emissions. And then the customer gets the better like performance, right? More torque.
People want the takeoff. They don't care about the overall top speed of a vehicle. They want to feel like if they're a red light and they kind of stomp it a little bit, they want to feel excitement. And turbos do that, especially 4-cylinders.
Yeah.
I would put, let's see, probably the Frontier at 4. The GM twins for me would be 3. But it's a close battle between them and Ford. They're both. Yeah. They both play in that American, we don't go too crazy. It's very calm interiors. I think I'll say this. I think the GM did a little bit splashier interior. So I guess I would put the twins up a higher. I think Ranger is nice, but it's kind of average to me for a brand new truck. But no, Toyota's number 1 for me right now in the interior. It looks exciting. Even the lower trims look exciting. I like in the Sport, you're getting the painted interior a little bit. It might not be for me, but I like that they're doing that.
Yeah, I think they did the most. I mean, and again, we're like picking nits here because if you buy a Colorado, a Ranger, or a Tacoma, I think you'll be happy with the interiors. Like they really have done a great job on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but guy says Tacoma TRD Pro versus Trail Boss versus FX4. I mean, that's not even close because TRD Pro is playing in a different category than Trail Boss.
I would say Tacoma off-road. TRD. So we're going to see a ton this winter. You just wait for it. It's going to be Tacoma TRD Pro versus Chevy Colorado ZR2 versus GMC Can 84X versus Ford Ranger Raptor. I mean, we're going to see the cover in Car and Driver is going to have that on it. The cover of Motor Trend's going to have that on it.
Wait, what are those?
Right, magazine.
Cover of magazine.
I mean, every outlet in the country is going to do that video. I mean, they're going to do that video. We're going to see it all the time. I would say the Tacoma off-road versus FX4 versus there's Colorado in there.
I'm gonna bring that back up.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what the other one. Oh, Trail Boss. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty competitive. The thing with the Trail Boss, I love and hate. I love the look of the Trail Boss. I love the wider stance, but the interior for me in that truck's a miss because of all the plastic. But
it's just plastic, yeah.
However, plastic's also good. People always bitch about plastic, but when you're off-roading multiple days and you tend to have windows down, you tend to get the truck pretty dirty. Plastic's easy to clean. It really is easy to clean. But I like a little more stylish interior, which is why I said I like the GMC Canyon AT4 over the Trail Boss because the Canyon interior is a little more premium. There's a little more better materials on purpose, and I think GM did a great job of we can say Colorado offers this and Canyon offers this, but really for customers, the spectrum is all of them. They're going to look at all these, and they offer everything. They have a vehicle for everybody. I think they did a great job on that. The off-road, I haven't been able to see one, frankly.
Yeah.
Toyota has not built one. That's the thing that people don't understand is that the Tacoma TRD Pro we saw in Hawaii wasn't completely done. We couldn't film the back seats. We couldn't film a side panel because the side panel wasn't correct because they're trying to slap on parts to get this thing out there. Toyota has built five Tacomas. That's it. That's all. Everything else you see is computer graphics, because they don't have it. They don't have the parts in. They know what they know what's going to look like. They've been with part suppliers, but the part suppliers got to build these parts, and so they don't have that many. The first press drive I'm hearing is going to be like October, November because they haven't started production yet. They don't start production.
Toyota. I'd like to be on that press drive.
Yeah, right. They don't start production until I think August. This is you can't start. People are like, I'm going to put in I'm going to put an order in. I'm going to buy this one. I'm like, okay. What you're seeing right now is just photos online because they don't exist.
Yeah. I will say this: if I had to break down the interiors of all of them, I think GM's the worst where they put their center console. I do not like. I don't like the gloss black. Kelly talked about this in our first review of the Trail Boss. Where the shifter is, it's all glossy piano finish. I feel like that's in a truck's going to get scratched up and worn out real quick. I don't like the shifter towards the passenger.
Yeah, the shifter's weird.
But that's the only thing I really could ding them for their interior.
What I don't understand is so my Silverado outside has it's a high country. I don't have gloss black. I have the smaller shifter. I mean, I'm like, you did the layout really well in the Silverado. Why not just copy it in the Colorado? And they didn't. They put this really tall shifter, and it's like it doesn't make any sense. I would say yes. I would pick nits on that. I think Ford's layout. Ford's got the smaller shifter. I think that makes more sense because you don't need I mean, honestly.
Where are you at? So Ford offers, they have two shifters, which is goofy to me that they have this. We got to have options of shifters. They have what they call their E shifter, which is the low one, like what Raptor gets. And I think Gladiator gets it. And then they have the normal shifter in the lower trims. I don't understand why the need for different shifters.
They've done that. So the F50, the 21 F50 I bought, the Power Boost, and the XLT came with a. Did I have a column shifter on that? Yeah, I had a column shifter because unless you went with the sport trim, you got the console shifter.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't understand it. Like I mean, you look at economics of scale, and I think that's why Ford struggles production wise, and why they struggle sometimes making profit because they offer too many choices. Like just stay with one shifter. Like Ram has done, for better or worse. People love the dial shift, hate the dial shift. Whatever. I don't like it. But they stayed with it. They use it throughout their lineup. They use it in other vehicles. They've just been consistent with it, which is what bugs me with the Colorado. Why has the Silverado got a better shifter layout than the Colorado has?
Yeah. So Andrew Ramirez says Colorado has no headlight knob, which I do not like. I'll be honest though, I understand like the early fussing about it. I know Tim, you brought it up. I know TFL and everybody brought it.
I mean, yeah, people are like, Tim, you're bitching about this. No, we're just. It was like, wow,
yeah, just noticing. But I will say this: I watched your video on that, and I got thinking about how many times do I actually use that knob. The only truck I have that I use that knob on is my old Frontier. And that's because you manually have to turn. It doesn't have auto lights on. After that, on my Bronco, I've never thought about, man, why have the only time I've ever turned that switch is when I was at Sonic the other day and it was kind of dark out and I didn't want to blind the people in front of me.
Right.
So I just turned it off out of courtesy, but I don't think about that anymore.
I will tell you, I learned something new and I was really fortunate to do this. I had a GMC Canyon at night in Asheville. And I just because of my travel plans had an additional night, they gave me a truck, whatever. What I learned was so surprising, and people should really watch that video. You guys watch more of these videos. That's my plug for that. I mean, because I find some really interesting stuff for me. I mean, this is my nerdy truck stuff coming out, but you have to put the truck in accessory mode to turn lights on, okay, for the screen to pop up. So the button on the headlight switch for the screen also controls the bed lamp light. So the dome light that goes from the cabin, the chisel lamp, right? The lights of the bed. So I'm trying to video this truck and I realized that outside I can't turn on the chisel lamp for the bed. There's no knob or anything. I have to go inside the truck, I have to sit down, have to put my foot on the brake, have to turn it on basically, or start it up, or just press the button in accessory mode, get the screen to pop up. Then I got to go in and press the button for the bed lamp. That was a pain in the butt. And I think that's what's going to, I don't think turning the headlights on or off is going to be that big of a pain in the butt. But I think it's going to be a pain in the butt with fog lamps, turning the fog lamps on and turning on the bed chisel lamp. Those I think we're going to see the frustrations of those customers are going to have those problems. And somebody said, "What are all the which midsize truck has the biggest cab?" They don't.
Yeah.
Every midsize truck is the same size cab. Like
Yeah.
people are like, well, we're talking millimeters difference, less, centimeters, not even centimeters, but millimeters difference in cab size. They're all the same size because garageability. They want to be able to park these things in garages. So they're all the same size.
I see my buddy Steve P from Phoenix. He always says that is late to the party. Well, Steve, you're on that West Coast time, and I'm assuming you slept in today, so we still appreciate you being in here. Yeah. So Tim, I think as we wrap this one down, I appreciate you being on here once again. You guys in there, you gotta leave good comments, positive comments, constructive criticism on any of these posts. You can, if you see things like Tim said earlier, they read this stuff. And you would be surprised. I've had people that I didn't know were watching my stuff comment, and I do a little LinkedIn research, and they're like, I gotta watch what I say. But they do pay attention to this stuff, and I've said it for a long time. Nissan told me this years ago. They're like, look, we screen capture everything, but if it's, hey, this truck's a pile of shit, I can't take that to the next higher up and be like, hey, well, they can fix it.
Yeah, I've had many discussions and arguments with my colleagues about this. It's like, it's like if that truck's terrible, you got to call it terrible. I'm like, no, you don't. They're like, well, you're just not doing your job. People aren't going to trust you. I'm like, look, I said, somebody is buying that truck and loves it. Like, I know you love that Nissan Juke, and you had that.
I do love the Juke
because that Nissan Juke's a pile of crap. And that's the only vehicle I've really ever said I don't like it. But then here's the deal.
Tim scolded me when I bought the Nissan Juke.
I was like, what the hell are you doing? So here's the deal, right? So I can call the Nissan Juke a pile of crap, but Dave bought one. So am I smarter than Dave is? Am I better than Dave is? Do I know more than Dave? And I'm the one seer? No, I mean, just different opinions. So I don't actively call vehicles piles of crap because there's always people that actually do like them, and there are people that engineers that get behind it that they love it. Marketing teams sometimes love it. I mean, designers. I mean, when you build a vehicle, a lot of times there's a lot of love affair and building that vehicle. So who am I to be that much of a dick to call them love affair and have them say it's terrible? Yeah. I mean, there's always some redeeming value in any vehicle out there. There's always something people like about it. Now the Juke, I didn't find anything I liked about it, but there's always something out there.
Manual transmission in that little sporty car. Come on, Tim.
I got that damn thing stuck so many times in the wintertime. It was driving me nuts. I had like twice. I had a hashtag free the Juke because it got buried in snowstorms. So yeah, but I mean, every vehicle's got some redeeming qualities today. There's really no bad vehicle.
I think midsize truck in general, there is a wide range now of something for everybody.
Yeah.
From the guy that likes the very conservative built, maybe Ranger, to somebody that now wants something aggressive looking like that TRD Pro. There is a wide range of trucks, man.
And I'm seeing the same thing. Like, nobody anymore is saying on my comments saying, man, I wish I could get this with that, because they're going, oh, well, Tacoma offers that, or hey, the Ranger offers that, or the color. I mean, so it's like people are going, man, there really is a truck for everybody out there right now. There's really is an option for everybody to do that, to get a truck.
Yeah, Rev Nation says there's a massive team behind every vehicle, and YouTubers, reviewers forget that. No, there's some reviewers out there that may not be as tied. I mean, Tim's way more tied to the industry than I am, but there's some of them out there that just think because you go to a car lot, you're instantly a reviewer, and they can shit on these cars real easy. And there's some out there that me and Tim's talked about negativity, and they get millions of views on these videos. And I guarantee you, if they've never stepped inside that vehicle they're bitching about, fussed about, and they have no idea. And guess what? They're never going to get to do. Go be one of the first to drive these vehicles, because they may be making a little bit of money on YouTube, like the world's ending, Ford can't sell cars or whatever. But guess what? At the end of the day, that's a short-term deal. So yeah, there's definitely some people out there that
destroying their careers. I mean, they're absolutely. I mean, and I'm sorry, but once you do this, truck's not selling, that truck's not selling, this truck's not selling, like, and then I'm like, then you look at sales results and you're just like, no, that truck is selling. That truck is actually selling. It's like, and then, and it's always based around dealers. Oh, the dealer screwed this over. Dealer made a mistake. Dealer did this. Dealers don't give a crap. They don't care. They're independent
business about the manufacturers.
Yeah, I mean, and they don't. Some of them don't even care about the manufacturers. They're business. They're independent businesses. Like they're there to sell vehicles. Like they don't care if they have a hot vehicle and they're putting markup on it. Yeah, like my Ford dealer in town, he hit the GT 500. Was it GT 350 Mustang GT 350? I think it is.
They did a 350 first, then a 500.
Maybe the 500. He's like, I put a $10,000 markup on that, and the reason I do that is because I get one a year, and it keeps the people kicking tires away. It's like, because everyone wants to come in and buy one at MSRP, and they want to kick the tires and take it for test drives. But if I put an upcharge on it, it keeps people away from the kicking tires and
And I guarantee you, if somebody laid down MSRP cash in front of him, it might go away.
Yeah, but he goes, look, he goes, I'm at $10,000 markup in this car, and I'm still the cheapest in the country. I get every time I get one a year, and when it arrives, there's always a guy flying in from Seattle or LA or whatever to buy the car from me, because I still have the cheapest dollar because of my markup, because the other markets charge even more.
Yeah. One last question here. What is one thing you would change on the Ford Ranger? That's a tough one. I liked it's very Ford. So even the interiors of it is very Ford to me. I actually has a little bit of space underneath the rear seats for storage. I think it could do more, but I think the reason it doesn't have more is because they're planning for a hybrid version of this thing, and that I don't know if Tim noticed it, but that's definitely a battery pack area under that seat. I don't know. I like the up and down radio infotainment screen about it. I like all the little storage areas, like that was in the dash, kind of what Nissan used to do. I like that. Maybe just honestly clean up your options. That's all I ask for. Because if I do a build and price, which I will do a build and price on the XLT coming up this week, I guarantee it's going to be a little bit confusing from I don't know what 400 package, whatever they're offering in it. It's just confusing. And at the end of the day, that's the only thing I'd fix about that truck.
Yeah. I mean, I think the glaring miss on that truck so far is no Pro Power on board. And we talked
AC
about
vents, I guess.
Yeah, they got some power, but it's like they could do a stronger. They don't do a hybrid net, do they? It's only the 2.7, 2.3, 2.7. So they definitely could do a hybrid version and get Pro Power on board. That makes some sense to me. Because the Pro Power on board, I don't know why more brands don't do it. It totally makes sense. It's like,
yeah.
The rear AC vents, that's been a topic of the conversation. It seems like there's a Mason-Dixon line. If you're north of the Mason line, you have a problem. You stop the Dixon line, you don't, what I mean? It's like if you're south of the Dixon line, this is the old Civil War kind of line, but if you're a southern state,
Grandpa right? Talking, back in my day,
right. But it seems like if you're below, like Arizona, Georgia, Alabama, Texas, Florida, rear AC vents are a huge issue. If you get north up there in like Michigan and Minnesota, that kind of stuff, people just don't seem like they care. The truck is. I'll be curious when I get that Canyon, because I don't believe it's got rear AC vents either. And I'm thinking about running the truck with the AC on, sitting in the back to see if I get airflow. There's a debate about whether the truck is small enough you don't need them. That's an interesting discussion.
I mean, back in the day, let's be honest. I remember my parents having a Buick Skyhawk. I sat in the back seat. It was about comparable size to a midsize truck. Now, there was no AC vents back there. I never died from it, but I think we've been spoiled by some of these bigger vehicles getting it. And I know the Ranger Raptor in Australia gets rear AC vents, so I don't understand why. There's some weird. I'm sure some they think the American audience doesn't like that, or
save a buck here and there. I mean, I can see that.
Reputation says the Canyon does have rear AC vents.
Yeah. Okay. I'll have to check. Yeah. That's honestly one of the great things about doing a YouTube channel is the viewers. My God, you guys are eagle eyes. You guys see, you're like, the Tim was in your video here. I'm like, and I'm going back to my video going, son of a bitch, it's right in my video. Because you're walking around filming stuff, the camera's picking it up, but you don't always, you're not always thinking what they're thinking. Like, I'm looking at stuff going, hey, it's all brand new, all different. And these guys online are going, let's check it out. They have AC vents. Like, they're looking at one specific thing, and I'm looking at overall.
And once again, we get maybe 20 minutes sometimes with these vehicles, and you're trying to find the highs and lows real quick.
I think what I would say with the Ranger is, I think the one thing that they're missing out in that market. So we said hybrid power on board, but I think I know it's going to sound funny to people, but I think they need another trim level. I think they need a higher trim level.
Well, I wish they would do trimmer. I wish they'd do trimmer, but like what Chevrolet's doing with Trail Boss, make trimmer its own in that little truck. Make it its own trail.
I think they held back on trimmer just to get more marketing next year. I think they launched what they said this year, but I remember talking to a guy years ago in Pittsburgh. No, he was not Pittsburgh, but in Pennsylvania somewhere. And he bought a GMC Canyon Denali and asked him why. And he goes, because I want the smaller truck, but I want to have all the features. And so I think that customer, like My brother bought a GMC Cairns Denali because he likes it. He likes more features. He likes the better trim level, but he wants to be able to park in his garage. And I think that people in the midsize truck world, they don't want to have to go full size to get the nicer interior, to get the nice features. They want to actually go midsize and get all the features they want. And I know that sounds tough for people to hear because they're like going, how could they get $60,000 in a midsize truck? That's absolutely stupid money. But the person who's buying that is not cross-shopping that with a full-size truck. They're buying that midsize for what they want. They don't. This idea that you can get a full-size for less money than midsize, I understand that idea. It doesn't work out on paper when you go and build and price them, but it's the customer wants that stuff in the midsize truck.
Yeah.
I think one thing that Ford hasn't done, and again, sounds funny, is they haven't come off the high enough trim. Like the Lariat is nice, but it's not a platinum. It's not a limited. It's not, it's not.
Well, in Australia and European markets is getting a limited or a platinum. I forget what they're calling it. I think we will definitely see that here. I think they're just testing the waters with what they can get out here right now. Once again, we know the American companies, for whatever reason, are still having some supply issues. So let's not go, with the Bronco, they went all out. Here's everything you can get. And then 2 months later, here's a Bronco, or here's a Raptor version too.
Right.
And they were so excited about it. They didn't anticipate what was coming down the pipeline there, but I think they will. I think they will offer trimmer. Trimmer's been the number one thing I've heard people fussing about, which I'll be honest, trimmer versus FX4, especially in a little truck, I don't know what you could be the difference of it, but I like the name trimmer much better than I like the name FX4.
Oh, for sure.
I know you have a problem with Pro 4X with Nissan. Like you think it's kind of wonky.
It's weird,
FX4 is almost like that to me. Like I'm just kind of like, what does that mean?
Yeah, Tremor. I mean, I've had people email me asking about the Tremor. Like that's the name recognition that name's getting, and I think the package looks good. I love the orange styling. I think it looks amazing.
Yeah. In Europe, they're getting the Wild Track and Wild Track X for Ranger, and the X is damn near the Sasquatch package of a Bronco, except you get 33s instead of 35s. I think that stuff's coming to the United States. So especially now that Toyota's unveiled their hand, now it's okay. Time to you want to put in the pot. You want to keep playing.
That's a question. So, it looks like Toyota laid out the entire game plan. It looks like Ford's holding back.
Yes.
And so I'll be curious to see what happens with their response.
Do you feel like Chevrolet's holding back? Because I don't with them.
I don't think they're holding back. I think that's an interesting question. So what would you change on the Chevy Colorado?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I
mean, headlight switch is an obvious discussion.
I would make the Z71 a little bit more upscale. Not into the GMC area, because there's still, even with Z71, there's still a lot of plastic in there. And I feel like Z71's lost its luster because in the 90s, Z71 was their off-road package. That was their trail boss. That was their, and I feel like it's confused in the segment now, in the little truck segment, of where it's not upscale, though it is, I guess, for the lineup for Colorado, it is. I would just make it a little bit nicer and make it a little bit different. Make the colors of the interior just somewhat different than Trail Boss.
Grab handle. Somebody brought some grab handle, which is always always the thing for me. Grab handles. I can see that. Yeah, I headlight switch, grab handle, small details like that, I think would make a difference. I do wonder about the Z71. A lot of people are asking me about putting a lift and tires on the Z71, basically making a Trail Boss Z71 combo, which you can probably do. I don't think there's any real problems with that. But you're basically building a cheaper version of ZR2. So I think what that's telling me is Chevrolet needed something in between the Trail Boss Z71 and the ZR2, because people don't want to go all ZR2 money. They want to go the smaller truck with those options.
Yes. And I want to bring this up. This is an old photo that I did a long time ago, so bear with me just a second.
Okay.
Oh, wrong one. That's Tim. And because that's a great question. I mean, that's a really great question of what would you change about all of these? And if I can find it. So I had to go scour the web here for my own photo because I couldn't find it. I think Nissan better do this. This was a photo that I was given. You can see my old Nissan Nation Productions all over that. But this was a photo I was given. They showed dealers this for Nissan. They need to come out. They need something like the Z is or the GTR is. They need a halo truck. And Nissan needs to come out with this. I was told by somebody within Nissan they wanted to get the truck out, then a year or so later bring something like this out. Tim, what would that do for them if they were to bring? Now, granted, it's going to be a $56,000, $60,000, $70,000 truck, but what would that do for that brand?
Bring them back from the dead.
Yeah.
Nissan, I think, can build some really good vehicles. I just think they have a management issue. They have a
Yes.
lack of leadership at the top. They just don't have much direction. And yeah, they call that the Titan Warrior. Why the hell didn't they build that? Like, Nissan's been on the cusp of having all these vehicles that would have pushed Toyota and Chevy and Ford to come out the Ranger Raptor and the ZR2 a lot sooner. They just haven't pulled the trigger. And Nissan's interesting because reliability wise, they're right there with Toyota.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
so it's basically to me, I've always looked at Nissan as a cheaper version than Tacoma. And
yes, but and as far as their trucks, they need to just slightly revamp don't wait like they did 16 years before you do something. They need to do a mid-cycle refresh. So in 2 years, they better have something up ready to go, completely redo the interior. I like the interior, but it's just bland now.
I just question, my biggest question with Nissan is I don't know if they have enough talent on their design team and engineering team at the moment. I think they've lost.
They rely too much on what's the Hispanic guy that's their head designer? I can't think of his name.
Yeah, and
they rely way too much on him.
He's a sports car guy. Like, he's a luxury sports car guy. And I feel like Nissan's lost a lot of talent over the years because of downsizing and that kind of stuff. And I don't know if they have enough talent pool to pull something off like that. Like Chevrolet had the Colorado lost a lot of talent when Hummer closed. They lost a lot of off-road talent, and they have built that up. They have added engineers that off-roading on for fun. They built that back up. Look at Toyota, Sheldon Brown. I mean, he's now chief engineer. He's got the talent to bring this truck out. He studied the marketplace. He did a really good job. And Ford's funny because the Ford M50, they have so many chief engineers. They just they all just give the title away. They sit around the room like, oh, you're next. Okay, I did the last one. I mean, my God, it's like Ford's like, I always tell people, like, why Ford M50 is Ford F Series should say is one of the best selling lineups in the marketplace, because their talent bench is like the same equivalent as like the Yankees. Yeah. Like, they're just loaded. They're loaded with truck guys who breathe truck stuff all the time, and like those guys can build a great looking truck and a great powertrain and everything just by looking at a sheet of paper. They're like, oh, we'll just sketch it out here. We'll go, because
they're so in touch with their market.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I think that gets lost sometimes, and people are like, why can't Chevy build it like this? Or why can't Toyota build like this? Or Nissan build like this? Or Jeep, whatever. Well, it comes down to, do they actually have the people on staff that want to do that stuff? They have the desire, they have the knowledge, they have the energy level. And sometimes they do. And sometimes it's a young engineer coming up that could really take things off. And once he gets promoted at a certain level, they could really take the stuff off. I remember talking to Swears when he did the Tundra. He says the best thing with COVID was we had a lot of young engineers actually piping up and giving their thoughts that they would never say before in a meeting because they're too scared of the old guard. And I think we're going to see that more and more.
Rev Nation says Nissan could bring back a Maverick competitor. When I worked for the brand, trust me, and this was 2012. They were trying to do that then. They wanted to bring back the hard body.
Yeah.
And the underpinning and everything. They just wanted we can keep producing that, but it could not pass any kind of standards. So that's why Nissan hasn't done that.
Well, I think that's a shame with Nissan, is that Nissan, the Titan was before its time. The Nismo Frontier show was before its time. The hard body could have been before its time, right? They could really have owned a lot more of the truck market segment. They just went through the going years. They went through the issues of having leadership issues. They went through so
the hard body, Tim, I bet most people don't realize this. So Toyota right now sells over 200,000 Tacomas a year. In the early 90s, Nissan was selling about 240,000 hard bodies.
Yeah.
Selling that. I mean, they were over Toyota at the time. They were selling a ton of that, but like Tim just said, when it came time and they brought in the Frontier, it confused. They should have just left it called the hard body. They confused the whole situation. And then there's a battle for leadership. Then Renault takes over. They got their own plans that they want to do. It just screwed the company up, man.
It did. We had Nissan hard body at the farm for years, a little manual transmission in it. I mean, it's
you
perfect.
You get 30 miles a gallon in that little truck.
Yeah, and you could fix fence so easily because the bed was about that high off the ground. You just reach and grab stuff out of it. I mean, to me, the Maverick was a no-brainer home run. I mean, that was easy, but I was criticizing my colleagues because they're like, "This is the only truck you need." No,
No.
no, no. It's a purpose-built truck, but yeah, like I said,
That's like going to a high-end tuxedo event, and the only pair of shoes you have are these old raggedy tennis shoes. That's
yeah,
like
yeah.
like, oh, you
That's more
have to
shoes
have
you need. Yeah, no. I mean, I can't wait. I can't wait to drive more of these. I'm so excited to get the Canyon next week. I'm more excited that so I have the Sierra AT4X outside, which is really cool, Bison edition. But man, I'm telling you what, I can't wait to get in that Canyon. I just want to get in it every day. I want to drive around it every day. I want to sit.
Yeah.
I want to hit my head. I want to hit my head. I want to sit in the back of the rear AC vents. I want to see what's going on because I think the midsize truck market, like I said, it's just like a powder keg ready to explode. And I think if the midsize truck market explodes and we see more people buying the smaller trucks, I think we'll see more manufacturers offering Maverick competitors.
Oh yeah. Well, I think that's coming. I think we know there's been a lot of Dakota talk down here. I think we know that they're going to do Ram's doing something. They're not going to lay there. But Tim, so there's pickup truck plus SUV talk. What do you got going on this week? Anything launching this week or?
All right, so let me give you the rundown here. So I have some videos going live this weekend because I'm running out of time. I just need them out. Grand Highlander goes live on Tuesday. The Bison goes live on Wednesday. I'm driving on Monday to Missouri to pick up a new dog and coming back, so I'll be out of the office a couple days. And then, I need to aerate my yard. I have a lot of stuff to do around the house, but we have
Lawn Care Nation over here all of a sudden.
We got Jill was just at Mama Rally. We got a ton of comparison videos coming, and so
kills me. I missed that one. That dude, I had so much FOMO going over that we had to back out of that event because they're just a lot of fun trucks over there and a lot of fun off road. They built a nice off road course for that event as well.
Yeah, it's really good, and so there's so much energy coming out. Do a video yard aerating. I honestly, I mean, I was gone for 7 days, came back, and all of a sudden spring hit Nebraska. I used to take one bag of clippings off my front yard. I took 5 bags. so yeah, it's busy times over here. And then then I have all the tires. I'm working with sponsors for the Chevy Silverado, the Sweden Michigan build. I have a winch going on. I have a Fab 4 bumper coming in. A prototype Fab 4's bumper. I got the Silverado, the Swede's about done. I have a new interior going in. Like we got some cool stuff going on. I can't wait. I'm so excited right now. There's so much energy behind the channel. I mean, there's so much people asking me questions. Sponsors are lining up. I mean, it's just a lot of cool stuff happening.
Well, we always appreciate you being on here. And before we go, I want to give everybody a little tease. I showed Tim this earlier, but I want to give a little tease of what's to come on my channel this week because it's kind of funny. I mean, I don't know. We tested a Nissan Z coming up, and well, let's see. Let me pull this up there. All right. So this is a little tease of what's coming.
Manual transmission. Kelly, and I don't know that you've driven a manual in like 10 years or so.
And you had your G35.
Yeah. So let's find out what happens here.
So that is what's coming up this week. So we have that. I think it's set for Wednesday. And of course, any breaking news we have. I've got some more building prices coming up of the Ranger. My interpretations of what I would buy on this. Tim, I actually did put money down. My Ranger Raptor order was submitted, so kind of excited for that. Of course, I've did a building price on that. Pretty much what I did. I was told, and I'll tell anybody in midsize trucks, if you want a Ranger, do not get spray and bed liner. It's going to delay it for a long time. That's what I was told by Ford. So,
What's your price?
Oh God, 58, I think is what the price is on that. So, I mean, not bad because I really think the TRD
honestly,
Pro.
I mean, the AT4X edition 1's like 65.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
but I think TRD Pro is going to come in around the same price as Ranger Raptor. So,
yeah, average transaction price of full size trucks is like 55, and that includes all the fleet sales. So, that's not a bad number, I think.
No, I mean, it's not a number I'm always comfortable with, but but to make these channels grow, sometimes you got to bet on yourself. So whether it be 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, doesn't matter what you drive. And Tim, take us out, buddy.
And I will see you down the road.
Bye.